broke my heart. Now I'm gonna break something of yours!
All right, so we're back for another episode of Heartbreak Hotel. My name is Sid, and I'm the resident manager here. And you already know what Heartbreak Hotel is about at this point since you've been listening. So I'm going to jump right into welcoming our guest. Our guest today is here to talk about her story that revolves around, believe it or not, heartbreak. And so I'm going to let her take it away. How are you doing today?
Good. This isn't about accounting?
Absolutely not.
Oh, no.
I don't even want to think about my old life right now.
I'm on the wrong podcast, guys.
Absolutely. So, how are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. Having a good day. Just relaxing.
How was
Good weather.
work? Yeah. I'm so happy it's warming up.
Yeah.
What brings you into the Heartbreak Hotel today?
So, what brings me in is because I was really impressed with what you've done so far with the podcast. So, kudos to you.
Thank you so much.
And that's basically what brought me in. I thought that this is a wonderful idea and a great way to share experience and allow people who are maybe a little bit too shy or a little bit too timid to step out and just say, hey, you know what? I kind of went through that, or I'm going through that right now, and I'm learning from someone's experience, and I just want to take that next step in the positive direction. So I think the more stories that are out there, the better. And, you know, your podcast being the outlet of that is pretty admirable and really cool.
First of all, thank you so much for your kind words. I want to say you highlighted two very major points that were actually the reason behind the birth of this podcast. One of them being Heartbreak Hotel is centered around its guests, right? Even though it was born from my own experience, I know that I'm not the only one in this whole heartbreak game, right? That everybody has so many stories to tell, and they're so unique to everybody that comes here or has something to share. Second of all, yes, thank you. It does create an outlet for anybody that feels like they do have something to talk about, and I want to reach out to those people that I feel like we're blessed with a life where we have friends or people we can turn to, of course, rest our heads on their shoulders, where we can talk to them, cry to them or whatever. Unfortunately, there's people out there that might not have that, and then they cry in their pillow, or they just have to be their own cheerleaders, right? To make it happen for themselves. So I want to reach out to those people and say that, hey, you have a friend in me, sort of say, with this outlet. So thank you. Your kind words are, of course, always appreciated.
I couldn't agree more. And I think it also has to do with, you might not just be that friendless person in middle school, but you could be a working adult who's got lots of friends but still feels lonely, or
Right.
somebody who just had a horrible breakup or lost their job,
Right.
and doesn't want to talk about it with their loved ones.
Absolutely. And heartbreak sees no age, sees no color, creed, anything, right? Heartbreak is heartbreak. It's a human thing that almost everyone goes through. Yeah.
Yeah. And learning through storytelling and processing through storytelling is like...
That's life.
That's life, yeah.
That's life. That's something they don't teach you in class.
Yeah.
That's not, in your lecture, in your 8 a.m. lecture. So let's talk about you. What prominent heartbreak brought you to come here?
So, I mean, obviously it's centered a little bit about heartbreak vis-a-vis a relationship, but I think also has to do with breaking my own heart, not knowing who I was.
Breaking your own heart. That's interesting.
Yeah. And I think what I want to get out of this conversation and what I want to share is a story about how you should get help, even when in doubt.
Interesting.
So I think those are the key things that I want to talk a little bit about today.
Sweet. Okay. And when you say get help in terms of dealing with the pain or dealing with any, are you talking about mental health issues that you want to get help for, or help? Because help could mean anything from your friend to a professional.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's a little bit of both. Get help for me was talking to friends, period. Or
Instead of bottling it up, right?
Instead of bottling it up.
Right.
Or going to therapy. Next week, depending on which week you're listening to this, is Mental Health Awareness Week.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for me, that's a big deal because I feel like a lot of heartbreak has to do with, a little bit of imbalance. I don't want to say mentally, but a little bit of imbalance.
Chemical imbalance? Because that's what depression is, right?
Could be chemical imbalance. Could be just imbalance in eating habits, sleeping habits, and mental health, I think, is like this big overarching umbrella. But all of that has to do with, are you finding that balance in your life? Are you able to actually wake up and say, this is who I am? I am a nuanced person, and I'm okay with being good at one thing. I'm okay with being crappy at another. And I'm just going to go down this path in my life. And that is a healthy person. And I think a lot of the time, not a lot of people take stock of this is going badly, not because I am bad. This is going badly.
Right. And pain breaks that routine,
Yeah.
right? Pain brings a different side of us out because not everybody knows. I mean, pain doesn't come with a manual, right? An instruction
Yeah.
manual
Yeah.
that's like, okay, if you're experiencing this, make sure you do this and that. Pain for everybody does not come with any of that, right? So we have to figure out our own way of dealing with it. We react differently to these type of things, and pain in every level. So it breaks that routine in the sense that some of us might turn to either excessive eating, some people might turn to not eating at all or not sleeping at all,
Yeah.
and of course, going away from your routine, this obviously leads to not just mental health. Not accentuates your mental health, not only accentuates your mental health issues,
Yeah.
but has physical health issues as well, right? You're not sleeping well, you might fall sick. Yeah, and it's just a whole ball of disaster.
It's kind of like it's a circular thing. You start not feeling okay, but you're not sure why, and then you start feeling worse, and then that informs sickness, which then makes you not feel okay.
Very true.
So I think you just have to break that cycle and either talk to someone, get help, and again, it's like finding that kill switch that makes you go, okay, now is the right time where something's wrong.
Right.
This is not normal. I need to seek help.
Makes a lot of sense. So would you like to jump into your story?
Yeah. So my story has to do with my second year of university.
Interesting.
Me being a little bit more timid than I am now and a little bit more prone to being duped than I am now.
Okay.
I was in my second year economics class, and some guy behind me was saying, I really need notes to this macroeconomics exam that's happening next week. Man, I'm going to fail.
Classic pickup line, though.
Right?
Classic pickup line.
It wasn't even to me, and me being gullible and just, I don't know, prone to
Or-
wanting people to like me.
Or being the kind human being that if somebody's asking for help, you want to help them out.
Well, thank you for being that balance. Could be that. Could be me just being a decent person. I don't know. I turned around and said, yeah, sure. You know what? Actually, I'm in that class. If you want notes, I have them.
Great.
And, oh, looky here. Here's my number because you need it to coordinate to get the notes.
Classic 101.
Right?
Pickup. Everything is just going well here. Okay?
And here's the problem. I didn't even realize.
And yeah, makes sense. And some girls don't, right? Some girls are wary, or like you said before, you weren't as prone to being duped. Or sorry, you were more prone to being duped back then because we live and we learn, right?
Yeah.
As we grow up. But go ahead, sorry.
Also, maybe that informs a little bit more about what I felt about myself. I felt like, who the heck would be attracted to me?
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So I think the self-esteem issues right away something should have clicked.
Okay.
That kill switch, you know,
Should have gone off.
should have gone off. Didn't go off then. So we started seeing each other, I think about a month or two after meeting.
Right.
And I was just as timid as he was aggressive.
Just as timid as he was aggressive. Okay.
Yeah. So if I were the one to shy away from a difficult conversation, he was in his high school debate club. And he loved
Okay.
making people cry.
So opposites are really attracting here.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And opposites attract even like psychologically, but also I think superficially we really liked the idea that both of us looked like a good balance.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And I think that was a theme about how it
You
looked.
find him cute. Just say it.
I-
Or both of
I
you guys
still-
found
yeah,
each other.
I think we
yeah,
found it cute. We found the idea.
aesthetically
the idea.
pleasing to each other's eyes.
Yes.
So to say.
Yeah. And I think we liked the idea of each other maybe more so than we actually liked each other.
Then the compatibility of both
Yeah.
people, right? Okay.
Obviously, we didn't catch that then. So 6 months go by, and it's honestly a pretty good relationship. But I had a lot of unresolved issues in my personal life, being with my parents.
Okay.
And I come from a South Asian background.
South Asian background. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems to be the theme of most of the episodes that we have here. And my guests are usually from South Asian backgrounds. As soon as that ball is dropped, that South Asian background, everybody just gets tensed. Everybody just almost
Drama.
knows. Yeah. Everybody almost knows that, okay, we know what's coming, right?
Mine wasn't as tumultuous, I think, as a lot of other people's stories were.
Okay.
But I think mine had to do with just not realizing that my self-esteem issues came from the sense of guilt for feeling like I'd wronged my parents in some way.
Do you want to speak on that?
Yeah. So I think the reason that I was so timid for as long as I was for one thing, I think growing up, Indian girls are taught to be a little bit more demure. Not all. Demure.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
There's the whole sense of please be dignified, but
Right,
also be,
right.
Dainty.
There's a specific image that has to be portrayed because Indian girls are just kind of dolled up as really nice iPads to be sold to, you know what I mean? Whether it's
Yeah.
arranged marriage, whether it's marriage or whether it's just the casual, anybody coming over, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Women have to work that much harder in not the world, but just even in a South Asian household. They have to work that much harder to please somebody that they don't even know.
Yeah. And I hate stereotyping it because everybody's story that I've ever heard is completely different. And, man or woman, because I know
Right.
South Asian guys have issues just
Absolutely.
like white men have issues.
Absolutely.
So I don't want to talk about that. It just so happens to be that because I was from an immigrant background, reconciling Western lifestyle with Eastern is a challenge.
It is.
Just like reconciling any two cultures is. So I don't want to put it like, oh, Indian women are, they're always considered to be in this like glass.
Oh, you're right about
glass
that. Yeah, absolutely.
box. It's not always the case, but I think my particular upbringing had a little bit to do with my parents wanting me to be
A certain way.
quieter than
Okay.
I think maybe I was. So I internalized that for a long time. And that got further, I think, accentuated by the relationship because I realized that the more demure and quote unquote dignified I was, the more attracted to me he was, the more he liked the idea of us because we were a good balance. And maybe I wasn't even that person, but it's really easy to turn into someone like that when someone likes you more because of it, right?
Fair, yeah.
Yeah.
Even and that being said, that wasn't you to begin with,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you have a sense of what's the word? I don't know why I'm having troubles with it.
Yeah.
Demure,
Oh,
but
now,
the plural
now
of
it's
it,
like
right?
we're
Yeah,
overthinking
there you
it.
go. Yeah, no, you're right, right. But you have that. But you have that classy. You have that classy demeanor about yourself, right?
Yeah.
Which is great. However, it's okay to be outspoken. It's okay for you to be yourself, right?
Yeah.
In any situation for that matter. But if this guy is latching on to the perception that, oh, okay, quiet, soft-spoken, I like where this is going.
Yeah.
But he hasn't taken this time to really dig a little deeper and be like, oh, this is actually because she's actually outspoken, but this is just,
Yeah.
I don't want to say farce. This is just something that she is being pressured into or being boxed into, right?
Yeah. And I don't think he had the ability to unpack that.
Second year university, man. You don't even want to know what I was doing in second year
Right?
university.
And he
I
was in his
totally
first
know.
year.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm pretty sure for like the first 8 months he
Oh,
was
younger
probably
guy.
hammered.
Younger guy.
Undergrad, yeah.
Sorry, no,
Oh, he's
younger
younger.
guy.
Yeah,
younger
he's a
guy.
little bit younger
Right.
than me. Yeah.
Was going to say, have you heard of that 2-year thing?
No.
Like, for instance, women mature faster than men, right?
Yeah.
So the
So I've
ideal
heard.
ideal couple would be with a woman or girl is 2 years younger than the guy.
Really? I'm
Yeah.
dating someone younger.
Yeah.
Still.
So you're like already light years ahead. You know what I
I'm
mean?
light years
and he's like
ahead.
struggling to
Exactly. No.
catch up.
I like being the leader now.
Awesome.
I'm joking. 6 months into the relationship, the guilt of lying to my parents, who didn't want me to have a relationship until I had graduated, just got to me, and I kind of dropped it on him and
You hid the
broke
whole
up.
thing, eh? Yeah.
I hid the whole thing for a long time, and my parents are huge proponents of tell the truth, even if it's crappy. Just tell the truth.
Totally respect that.
Yeah, even if we don't like it. So for me to do that, it killed me for 6 months. And I had to I had to end it. Like in my opinion at the time, I had to end it and
End the relationship or actually come around and
end
tell
the
your parents?
relationship.
Oh, okay, wow. Because
Yeah.
you didn't want to face the consequences of telling your parents as opposed to end the relationship and stomp on your heart, so to say, at that point, right?
Yeah. I think
Okay,
at that
wow.
point, I just felt like I wasn't strong enough to have that conversation
That's how
with my
real the
parents.
fear is, man. In South Asian
Yeah.
households, that's how real the fear is, where you might be head over heels with this guy, but you are not ready to really face that storm that might or might not have been coming
Yeah.
had you been truthful, right?
And great point. It might or might not have
Might.
been come.
Right.
Have come at all. Like
Right.
it's just that's the amazing part that not even knowing the fear stops you from being you.
Right.
Just because, and again, and all credit to South Asian parents, by the way. Why we are afraid to say these things is because we get such an immense amount of love from them that even the 1 second thought of I might not be able to get this if I were to share this piece of information with
Right.
my mom or dad, it's you don't want to do it. Who
At
wants
the
to
core,
lose out on
at
the
the
love?
core of our hearts, we don't want to hurt our parents. We don't want to be that reason that they're let down or they're disappointed, right? Yeah, we don't want to be that cause that drives a wrench into their hearts.
Yeah, or make them feel like we're not doing as well as they thought we were.
Right. Right.
Because they've literally done everything for us. And
Absolutely.
they were essentially then, by extension, unsuccessful
Right. Oh, sorry. Unsuccessful
in providing us with the right quote unquote values to be better people and better versions of ourselves.
But do you really think that's the case?
No, of course not. My parents don't even believe that anymore.
What?
That they were wrong.
I'm trying to ask you in a general way.
Yeah.
Here's how I'm going to tell you, and let me
Yeah.
know. Let me know what you think about this.
Yeah.
So they come from a different. Are you born here, by the way?
No.
No. Your parents also. They've come here. When did you come here?
16 years ago?
Sweet. So I came here 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. So same ballpark.
Yeah.
So our parents coming from somewhere else have grown up somewhere else, learned their own sets of
Yeah.
values and beliefs somewhere else, right? They come here to sacrifice for our education. I'm just averaging it out.
Yeah.
Uh,
Averaging it out.
yeah, you know what I mean? 'Cause,
Lowest common denominator.
right? I'm averaging it out. So they come here for our education, for our betterment, right? And they come and get their sets of values. They want to instill in us, right? But now they're faced with a major culture shock where they don't have age on their sides. So they've already they've already held on to their sets of beliefs and values, right?
Yeah.
And have tried to put it into their own children. But now they have their own set of growing up to do because now they're here at
Yeah.
a much later age, as opposed to us kids. We can be molded
Yeah.
into whatever. Like learning languages is so much easier
Yeah.
at a younger age.
Yeah.
Learning different cultures or just learning as a whole is so much easier as you're younger, right? Because
Oh,
you can
yeah.
be molded a certain way.
Yeah.
But that ship has sailed for our parents. So what I'm trying to convey is that I still think that they've done their best to instill that set of values in us. And I don't think they would be unsuccessful at it. The average parent, right?
Yeah.
What they might be unsuccessful at it for certain parents would be not being able to mesh the new cultures with our old, like still instilling back home ways of doing things.
Yeah.
When, of course, it might not be appropriate for the way of life here, right?
Because that's been their success story, right?
That's
their
been their-
success
back
story
home.
is in their context.
Back home.
Yeah.
But when you come here, and I mean, different parents adapt differently. Mine, maybe not during high school, but over time have done a great job to assimilate both sides
Yeah.
and understand this way of life compared to their way of life and take the good in both.
Yeah.
And let's keep it moving forward because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, we want to see our son or daughter happy and we want to support this kid in doing whatever career or whatever they want to do in life, right?
Yeah. And I think that's success. Nature, nurture, and evolution.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I want to understand this unsuccessful point that you were making.
Yeah. So this is just kind of a side effect of really good parents being really good parents and not realizing that they set such a high expectation of perfection
Okay.
that their daughter went and just decided, you know what, I'm not going to have this relationship, even though I think I'm in love with this guy and I want to pursue this further.
Fair.
Yeah, but also I was in second year, so what the hell is love? But
What the hell is love ever? Ever
what
thought
the
about
hell
that?
is love ever, right? But yeah, so when I broke up with him is I think when that kill switch should have gone off
For them.
for me.
For you. Okay.
Yeah, because that's when I started to realize that this guy's a little manipulative. And it's not an uncommon story. Hey, I broke up with someone and they got kind of douchey. Of course. I mean, that's kind of the regular, yeah, they called me
Okay, we're
some
back to
bad
just
words.
you and the guy
Just,
now, right?
just me
Okay,
and the
okay,
guy. Let's call him Jesus because I think it's
okay.
funny.
Jesus, such a great name.
Jesus is a great name. Yes. Um,
Spanish Jesus, so to
yes.
say.
Spanish Jesus. Yes. So with him, all of a sudden the dynamic shifted from this happy-go-lucky to I don't understand why you're doing this to me. I don't understand why you're hurting me. And
Were you open with your feelings in the sense that, hey, like I mean, I don't want to tell my parents, and even if I do, it's going to be crazy. A shitstorm's going to happen, and they might or might not accept you, and I don't want to go down that route. Blah blah blah. So you've communicated this.
I
with them.
communicated that to him. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's reacting out of the pain of obviously
Yeah,
heartbreak.
yeah.
That he would miss you. He would, you know.
Yeah, and I don't blame him for the pain, and I don't really blame him for saying some inappropriate things during that time. But I think what caught my attention really at that
Still
point
wrong,
was
though.
it's still wrong to say anything out of desperation just to get a reaction. For sure, it's still wrong. But I think what caught my attention was in retrospect when he said, "I think you're a bad person." Yeah, and not the fact that he said it because people say things in anger, but I did not go, that's not cool. I should probably not pursue this. I went, oh, yeah, maybe I am.
Nice.
Yeah.
Maybe I am.
Maybe I am. Like, maybe I'm just being manipulative. Like, I'm lying to my parents. I'm not with this guy. I just broke up with him. And clearly I wronged him. And I didn't even think about my own happiness.
Right.
Um,
But that's the good in you, right? And that also breaks my heart most when it comes to women questioning themselves in
Yeah.
these type of situations where they actually take this blame and they center it around themselves that, oh, maybe I was shortcoming in certain characteristics. Maybe I am to blame. Maybe, you know what I mean? All
Yeah.
these thoughts that I'm
Yeah.
sure you had at that
Yeah.
time. And that breaks my heart the most where it's like, no, like it's okay, right? You made a decision.
But I'll counter you on that. And here's the thing. I think women, and myself included, we like the sense of pity. Like, we like playing the victim. Maybe
For attention?
not, but I liked playing the victim. I liked being the victim because it's easy. It's easy to be the victim. It's easy to be the one who was wronged because, wow, boo-hoo me, my parents don't want me to date someone, so I'm going to break up with this guy. And this guy tells me I'm a horrible person. Am I?
Okay.
You know? But
Okay.
there comes with that real sense of, okay, am I doing the right thing with my life here? Why do I need to be timid? And why does somebody else need to tell me that I'm being wronged? There's a shortcoming in the way that I'm analyzing the situation,
Okay.
and I need to fix that gap. Because in order for me to succeed in any relationship, I'm going to need to know what makes me happy, and I'm going to need to know what it means to like myself.
Self-reflection is the most key.
Right?
And self-awareness, for that matter,
Yeah.
is so important
Yeah.
to
So
succeed in anything for this matter.
it should have broken my own heart, right? Like I said, it's kind of the process of breaking your own heart to make yourself feel a little bit
It
like,
all comes around and
okay,
it all makes sense
right?
now. Right.
So at that point, I think that was the thing. I want to bring it back to like, yeah, this guy was manipulative and he had his own issues.
Can you talk about his manipulation outside of the saying things out of anger and
Yeah.
trying to bring you back with,
Yeah.
horrible words and horrible whatever
Yeah.
things he was spewing at you? Was there anything else on the table with
Yeah.
his
Oh God.
manipulation?
I think over the course of we quote unquote went back and forth like this for about 3 to 4 years. And I don't want to
Wow.
call it dating because we didn't actually date. It was like this dating purgatory where we
Okay.
were comfortably together, but not actually, official,
Right.
which is what we like doing now. Everybody likes doing it. So, yeah. Sorry, I forgot your question.
Just any other set of manipulation that he had.
Yeah. Oh, I always had an insecurity about my intelligence. I went to a pretty good university and then a pretty good sub college in that university, got in
Right.
and was not doing that great as I thought I would, but the not doing that great as I thought I would turned for me into like, I am so stupid. And that's genuinely how I felt for honestly, that's genuinely how I still continue to feel for a long
So
time.
did he always make you feel that way in the
Yes.
relationship, where he would just kind of say, "Oh, like you have no idea about this," or
Yes.
you have, or he would undermine your opinion on things? Is that
Oh,
it?
100%.
Oh,
100%. And the
okay.
problem with that was he is extremely well read. There's nobody I know who's as well read as this man is.
And that's great, but being well read doesn't mean you have the right of intellectuality above somebody else.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
To
he
bring them
did.
down. To bring them
To
down.
bring them down,
To bring them down.
exactly.
That's what I mean.
Instead of being the person
If
that
this is debate and it's
Yeah.
competition, if he's well read, great. He's
Yeah.
going to have great points. However, still wouldn't give him the right to be like, hey, I know way more about this than you do. That makes you dumb.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
where we draw the line. Like, no, you have no right to do that.
Yeah. And even if he was better than me and we both acknowledge that, I think what I wanted was someone to coach me through that thought process.
Right. Shouldn't significant others provide that value in each other's lives where, hey, like, I know about this. Like, I would love to, teach you
Exactly.
or guide you through these things or
Yeah.
topics or whatever
Yeah.
whatever the topic was at hand at that time.
Yeah. And he didn't do that at all, unfortunately. But again, to his credit, I don't think it was his job to. I should have known at that point that this
Not
is not appropriate for
necessarily.
me.
Not necessarily. It doesn't become somebody's job to baby someone.
That's the key.
So do you think he just felt like he was babying you all the
I think
time?
so. I think so. I mean, if you think about how timid and just gullible I
But
was.
that's a part of being. You know what job that's a part of? That's a part of being in love with somebody and embracing their flaws and whatever makes them beautiful,
I
right?
agree.
Where I've been in a relationship where my ex had severe anxiety issues,
Yeah.
right? And me coming from a world where I wasn't too, and I'll admit it, I wasn't too educated on the whole
Yeah.
mental health. I wasn't too aware of mental health issues and stuff like that, because I would minimize things to states of minds, right? So coming from being in a relationship with
Yeah.
somebody that had anxiety issues, that had mental health and legitimate issues at that, I did a lot of educating myself through her because at first I might have been that guy, right? That
What the
would
hell's
be
wrong with you?
yeah, what's wrong with
Yeah.
you? This, that.
Yeah.
Until I did my own reading and I did my
Yeah.
own research where it's like, they don't want to live their life like that either.
Ooh, yeah, good point.
They don't want to do that either. You think it's fun for them to deal with anxiety? You think it's fun for them to deal with thoughts that they can't control? It's not. And until that click happened in my head, I could then have offered that level of sympathy, that level of empathy that was required to deal with this person, right?
But you hit the nail on the head. I think that requires a sense of, or just a certain amount of self-awareness.
But that's my compassion for her that made me want to educate myself. That's my love for her, right? Where if I'm in a relationship with somebody, I'm accepting them for who they are because Lord knows I'm not perfect either. And this person is accepting my flaws and shortcomings as well. And where it's like, hey, like, let's say I lost my cool or something. They might, because they love me, they might actually take it and be like, hey, it wasn't cool for you to do this, blah, 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 because this is how it made me feel. And then I realized, wait, I love this girl, man. Why am I hurting her?
Yeah.
And then we just mutually agree. And then we move forward. Obviously, this is such a perfect ideal. It never always
Yeah.
happens, right? But that's the point. My point is that if
Every
I love
relationship
somebody,
should go that way.
yeah. So
whether it
and it's
ends or
not,
not.
and I just don't want to say that it's not necessarily their job to do so. I understand. Babying goes both ways, right? No matter what it may be.
I think the word is support,
Yeah, absolutely.
based on just love. Like
Support
you
is a
said.
mature version of that. Yeah.
But I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. I don't think he loved me. I think he loved the idea of me.
Right. That's powerful.
So the idea of me was pretty two-dimensional, and me
Because
was
you weren't
not.
yourself. You weren't yourself, right?
I wasn't myself.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. Actually, that's a great question, because when are you really yourself at any given state in time? Like it's for me, it's a hard question, because I don't actually recall not feeling like myself in those instances. I just think that I just fit myself into that box, and I was that person at that time. But I didn't realize how influenced that personality was by my boyfriend at the time.
Right.
So I think I was genuinely myself. I just didn't
But
expand.
I'm chalking it up to what you said about your parents, about the whole boxing
Yeah.
in of, hey, why don't you be a little quieter? Why don't you be a little more subdued?
Yeah.
When you actually are, and correct me if I'm wrong, you actually are an outspoken individual, and if you see wrong, you want to point it out, and you want to, like, you know what I mean? Like, you want to be your bubbly self.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which you have
Yeah.
every right to be,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if this person is in love with somebody more subdued, where, say, you feed his ego by being quote unquote less intellectual than he is,
It's in
maybe
his
that's what he
favor.
wanted,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't want to be in a relationship with somebody that eventually learned to talk back and learn to challenge his ways
Yeah.
of thinking.
Yeah.
Then he would be like, okay, well, like, now there's two smart people in this relationship, and I'm only supposed to be the smart one.
Yeah.
So this not working out.
Yeah. I think it led to boredom on his end as I continued to learn to challenge
But for an
it a little bit
intellectual,
more.
but that's the thing. But for an intellectual person, shouldn't it be great to be challenged, to
yeah.
be pushed? Because boundaries
Yeah.
have to be pushed, right? Like, if you can think of any great human being, man or woman, they have pushed boundaries to be where they are, right? They have been challenged. They have challenged what they've learned. They've been challenged by other
Yeah.
people that pushes them to elevate their game to another level, right?
Yeah.
So I would assume that since you said if he's the most learned man that you've ever met in your life, competition in the game
He would
wanted
like
to, yeah,
it.
especially
Yeah.
from a significant other,
I
because
don't think I even counted as competition. I'm going to be really
I don't
blunt.
think
At
so.
no point in time did I actually count as in his head. And
In
here's-
his head.
In
In his
his
head.
head. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and
but you shouldn't be competitive with your significant other, right? It's just
I like some healthy competition.
healthy, very healthy. Yeah, healthy. I have had friends in a relationship where they competed with each other, like career wise, professional wise,
Yeah.
as rivals.
That's amazing.
No. That might have come out nice, but when I say rivals, as in like the dude was literally jealous of her working
that's
in a
not cool.
firm that was more reputable than his, where he's like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to feel jealousy.
Yeah.
If my future wife is doing better than I am,
Yeah.
I'm out in I'm out in the stands with the
Yeah.
number one fan thing on my head, and
Yeah.
I'm cheering her on.
Yeah.
Because that's the support that I want to give her.
But you see, that comes with a level of maturity as well. That comes
Okay.
with a realization that I'm okay with me. Thus,
Yeah.
I'm okay with my partner.
Right.
But there has to be an I'm okay with me. And I don't think at that point either one of us was. And I think that informs even his dismissing me when I did ask questions.
Okay.
Because he didn't want to be challenged because I think he was insecure in his own way about whatever it was that he's dealing with. And,
Right.
He's got his own set of insecurities and I'm sure mental health issues that we both realized by the end of the relationship that he needs to address. So I think it kind of comes from, like, I love that you said that, one partner should do this, but sometimes when it's just a bad mesh and both people haven't gotten help,
Recipe for disaster,
it's a
right?
recipe for disaster. So that's kind of where we're at. Recipe for disaster.
I guess that's what the episode should be called at this point. Okay, so you mentioned 3 to 4 years back and forth of not just ups and downs, but
Yeah.
ons and offs of the relationship itself, right? Can you describe a really dark night or weeks of how bad that it really got for you?
Yeah.
That you're like, okay, you know what, enough's enough. I got to change. What was that turning point where you finally grew up and realized this is not for me?
I didn't have the realization that this is not for me probably until after the relationship ended. I think I would like to tell you that
Ended for good after like that
Yeah,
4-year point or whatever.
after that 4 year
No more
point,
ons and offs.
no more ons and offs. And I did not make that choice.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I don't think that I came to terms with losing the idea of him until probably after the relationship ended. Because, for one thing, it was a forced ending. My friends hated his guts.
Wow.
Yeah, my friends hated him.
Usually that's how it happens, right? Like nobody around
Yeah.
you likes anything about him, but the people inside of the
Yeah.
relationship are so blinded by the love, the infatuation, right?
And also the personal issues, the mental health issues.
Right.
Honestly, you're in this weird twilight zone where you think.
So can you, finish your point.
Yeah. So, and I think that would be the darkest time for me. It was the rejection of the idea of me by him, because I'm already, think about it, I'm thinking I'm not very intelligent. I'm not doing very very well. At that point, I graduated and gotten a job that I did not like or do well at.
Okay.
And it had now been about 5 years since I'd felt successful at doing anything. And the last hope that I had and the last piece of success that I thought that I would have in my life was walking away from me.
Wow.
Yeah. Even after all the abusive conversations, even after
Yeah.
seeing other people.
Other people were caught
Other
up
people
in the
were
mix
involved.
for both parties.
For both parties.
Interesting. Wow. And you're still feeling that, you're still feeling pulled back to that original guy, right? That guy particularly.
Yeah.
Can you define these mental health issues from your end and or a guess on his?
So on my end, I think it had to do with two things actually. Addiction to drama, which I don't think is like a thing that people talk about a lot.
That's very interesting. Addiction to drama. You know what the first thing that comes to my mind is?
Yeah.
A brown auntie. A nosy neighbor that always has, when you say addiction to drama, they live their lives peeking into others.
No. So this was an addiction to...
I know that's not the case for you, but that's the first thing that comes to mind.
That's the first thing that came to mind.
So can you expand on your particular addiction to drama?
Yeah. It was the cat and mouse game. It was the... you're a bad person. No, I'm not. And then,
Those playful
you're a bad
games
person.
that are being
I don't know
played?
if it's playful.
No,
it was actually I think you're a horrible person. I think what you did to me by at some point leaving me for somebody else was a horrible thing to do. And now, I think you're just masking how shitty you actually are by doing all these nice things for people. That's why I think you turned around and gave me those notes. Because you were an imposter.
That's insane.
I mean, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. But guess what? It's even more insane to believe it.
Yeah, no, that's why I said it was insane because you turned around when you turned around and give those notes, you weren't thinking on that level.
No, I wasn't.
You really weren't. You were just like, guy asking for notes. I'm a decent person. Let me help this person out.
Yeah.
That's as deep as it would have gotten in your mind. I'm just assuming. But yeah.
But I think it kind of
there was no chess to be played there.
You think there was no chess to be played there, but I think it goes back to his belief that him manipulating me to feel like I was not good enough, even at the things that I thought I could make up for my lack of intelligence with being nice. And he called me. Okay. He called me out on it. He said, just because you're not intelligent or you think you're not intelligent does not mean that you can just pretend to be nice. And that's how he put it. And I was...
But this is an illusion. It is an illusion that he's creating to, whatever, I guess, dissect you with pain and just kind of break you down even further.
But you see how it's such an exciting narrative? And that's where the addiction to drama comes in. Because it's this amazing narrative about me that I'd never heard before.
Which isn't true, though.
I agree.
Yeah,
but me with my low self-esteem thought, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, at that point, which I'm not taking away from you at all, right? And that makes sense. I mean, instead of addiction to drama, you're just intrigued by this new perspective that he's throwing at you, which in your brain, you didn't really think is possible because you're not that type of person, but he's spewing these things at you and which are creating new possibilities or thoughts of thinking.
It's just
new
doubt.
thoughts. Yeah. Oh, doubt. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect way to put it.
It created doubt for sure. And I think I did the same thing for him. And you know how convenient it is that we forget the things that we've done.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But I mean, I can think of instances where I manipulated him back and I said, you're a horrible person and you don't deserve love in your life. And, you've done all these manipulative things. Like I'm allowed to manipulate you back or I'm allowed to leave you for somebody, even though I know we're
kind of together.
We're kind of together. And I let myself slide. So what the heck? No. And again, it comes down to that kill switch. Neither one of us at that point thought, this is not okay. We're not self-aware enough to realize that this is the reason we're getting angered. I am insecure about my intelligence and I don't think I've had the ability to express myself properly without 10 thoughts of you're really shitty.
Yeah.
And him on the other end with his... to go back to your question about what I thought that he had, he was raised in a pretty competitive and meritocratic environment, and he had to fight tooth and nail to
get what he
get
had.
the intellectual capital.
Does he have siblings that he had to compete with, or like his
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
family is just smart where he had to fill certain shoes,
yeah. And
right?
I think a lot of his insecurities came from his parents as well,
Yeah.
who kind of pushed him to,
Are they South Asian?
yeah.
I know I don't want to push the
But that being
stereotype, but
said, I have a
yeah.
lot of friends who are from different cultures who have very similar stories to tell.
Agreed. Yeah.
So he just happened to come from that culture, but I feel like that was separate. I think he had some genuine issues because, man, everybody around him was probably smarter than he was.
Right.
And he was the runt.
Yeah, so he felt that complex
He felt that
happens, right?
complex
Yeah.
that I was going through, and bullies, people who get bullied make good bullies,
Right. And
right?
maybe now he's self-aware to the point where if he reflects, if he brings those two things together, where he felt like he was the, I don't know what the right word is, like where he was the guy that had to always match up to everybody else, when he balances that with, maybe I shouldn't have undermined her from time to time because she felt the way I feel in my own family,
Yeah.
right?
Or my own friends,
Or
my
friends or
friend circle. Yeah,
whoever he hung
yeah,
out with.
yeah.
Yeah, whoever he felt the need of, like, crap, I have to operate at this high efficiency just to match their IQ,
Yeah.
which, like, I mean, should never be the case, but
Yeah.
yeah.
But with both of us being addicted to the drama and being addicted to the story of it all,
Yeah.
didn't even think that this could be a dynamic conversation. Didn't even think to honestly make it work. Like we liked the story the way it was. We liked the drama the way it was.
Right.
Deep down, you know? And those are the weeks that I remember just feeling the worst, feeling the sense of rejection and feeling like, oh crap, the story has ended. Even though it was a horrible story.
To begin with, right.
Yeah, it was a
Right.
horrible story to begin with. We were horrible for each other. And
Hindsight's 2020 though, right?
hindsight's 2020. But here's the thing. What changed was at some point the kill switch went off. And this was around the time that he was seeing someone else. And I was just pining for him. And somehow at that point I thought, like, this is not healthy. I'm not the kind of person to go for someone who's seeing someone else. Just on the basis of it all. I know we've got history, but just seems like not me thing to do. If the one thing that I can assume I am is a half decent person, doesn't seem like something I would do, but I did it. So, like, what's up with that sliding scale of morality there?
Yeah. No, you're
Yeah.
right. So tell me about this turning point. Tell me about when you put the gavel down.
Oh my God. I just started driving and I drove into someone else's lane because I was screaming into the phone.
You're talking to him?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Holy
And
crap.
then I realized I've just almost endangered somebody else's life
Yeah.
because I'm having a panic attack.
And yours, yeah.
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 And my own
And yours,
because
yeah.
I'm having a panic attack. And that's messed
Because
up.
you're so frustrated to a point where now,
Something had to give, and I just remember that was pretty much like the lowest of the low that I could go. Just screaming into the phone, crying, hysterical. It's like a kid who didn't get what they wanted, and like, oh shit, my story's over. Like, this was a perfect thing. We were a good balance. We were
Right.
great. Like, we were great to present. And dude, I have this addiction to our drama. Like, why are you ending the drama, man?
right. So paint the picture. You went home after that. What realization finally came to you?
I need help. I'm still in love with him, but I need help.
So I'm guessing the conversation on the phone was about him seeing somebody else, but you still feel
Yeah, I think so.
that way for him?
It was a long time
Okay.
ago, but
Yeah,
I
no,
think
fair,
so.
fair.
Yeah. Something
Because I
along
mean,
those lines.
it sucks being at that position, right?
Yeah.
Where your heart is calling out to somebody that is seeing somebody else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a nice way to put it. Your heart is calling out to somebody. I would like to just call it like I didn't get what I wanted. So
No, it's flowery language to mean the exact same thing. That's what it is.
but yeah, so I remember just going home and thinking I do love him.
And this is all happening without your parents knowing.
At that point they knew
So where's the help coming from? Let's talk about the positives
yeah,
now.
where did the help come from? I had one best friend who's been with me through every single breakup that I've ever had.
Wow.
And she told me that from this moment on, 6 months from now, you will be happy. And she said, I know that you don't see it, but I've seen your
I
life.
hate that friggin' advice in that moment.
But I trusted her.
Yeah. By the way, she's absolutely right about that whole thing.
And she
Because
was.
6 months later, yes, we have our goggles on at that time, right?
Yeah.
That are our nearsighted goggles at that
Yeah.
time, where it's like, holy crap, the pain right now is so intense. It could never get any better than
Yeah.
this. However, it does, because time does eventually heal certain wounds.
Yeah. I don't think she meant time will eventually heal certain wounds. I think she genuinely said, I know who you are, and I know you're seeking fulfillment.
Awesome.
And I know that you will find it because you're constantly looking for it.
Right.
And she gave me proof. She said, look, back when you were dating so-and-so.
Sorry, you will find another guy? Because you're
You know
constantly
what? I asked her
looking
a
for it?
specific question. I said, like, is it another guy? And she said, yeah, maybe. But she said, you know what? At this point, you might even just be happy alone. But the point is that you are at such a low, and you have been at such a low, that I can't see why you won't be happy in 6 months if you just stop dating
With or
this
without
man.
another guy. That's what I mean.
She
Because
said
I'm
she
getting
didn't
to a
care.
point here. Okay.
She said
okay,
she didn't care.
So being happy, that's a very
Yeah.
respectable point.
Yeah.
Because what I was getting at is you will find somebody else. In the that sentence, you will find
Yeah.
somebody else. Because in my life, you will find something else because you're constantly looking for it. That's the point that she was trying to make.
Because I was constantly looking for a
Right.
relationship,
But
maybe.
in my life, that has never worked out that way.
Really?
Dude, the more it's like, okay, when you grip sand at the beach,
Oh, yeah.
and the harder you grip,
Yeah.
the more it slips out of your hands. That's what it is when I am seeking a relationship. So things like that have always happened in my life when I have found happiness in other places, and my life is telling me, hey, now it's time to focus on this. This is life's way, universe's way of
Yeah.
saying. So if that department where I wasn't content was a relationship,
Yeah.
and the life thinks that I've done my learning, learning is forever. But
Yeah.
for now, at this stage, you've done your learning here. Time to throw a bowling ball
Yeah,
here. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And then this comes out, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, holy crap. Then I meet a girl, and like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the more I've realized that even now,
The
that
less organic it is, you think?
no, just like the more I'm running after it, right? Like even
yeah.
right now, coming out of a 4.5 year relationship, a very intense one at that, where I thought we were going to end up married.
Yeah.
And in long relationships, you get so used to that person,
Yeah.
right? Being around, and you're married to that image in your head,
Yeah.
right? And you want that for the rest of your life. So as soon as it's snatched away from you, your life just starts, in the beginning, just loses its meaning,
Yeah.
loses the love, loses the colorful
Yeah.
flowers that were blooming, everywhere across.
What changed? Just because
right?
I
What
ran
changed?
after her? Is that it? Yeah.
You know what I mean? But what I'm trying to say is, so now at this point, now life has come to me and says, hey, that learning that we thought you were good back then, you suck at it now. Time to learn that. So this department of love
Yeah.
is going to be closed, because now it's time for you to self-reflect and get that knowledge game up and get your own self-awareness going to a point where, you know what, you don't need somebody else to hold your hand just to be happy. You just need yourself.
This is a great, great point. And I feel like I have such a differing view about it, and I have a hard time. I have
Talk to
such
me.
a hard time. Yeah, I have a really hard time telling people I think they're wrong about this. I don't think you need to be alone in order to learn key things. You can grow up with someone. And let's paint a picture. Let's say this had worked out, and you still continue to run after it.
My
Then
relationship.
Your
okay.
relationship. Let's
Yeah.
say, like you said, I feel like every time I've run after someone, it's ended badly. But guess what? There's going to be that one time that you ran after someone.
No,
and
that's
it
not what I mean
works.
with that.
Okay.
I just mean, like, okay, for instance, I'm single right now, right?
Yeah.
The yearning and like, oh my God, I just want to meet somebody. I just want to get into a relationship. That's what I mean. I'm not saying I feel,
okay,
I'm not saying I
okay.
feel that right now,
Yeah.
because I don't, because I learned, as much as I do, I'll be honest with you, as much as I do hate being single, and I feel like, love is such a beautiful thing. Everybody should experience it. I have learned to understand the value of
understand.
seeking that happiness and validation from within myself first,
Yes.
before it is projected out to
Yes.
any person that I love that I meet.
Yeah.
Right. And grow into loving and grow into having another relationship. I want to be able to, I understand the value now that, hey, this love needs to come from within you first.
I agree.
That, I mean, there's this age old saying where it's like, how are you going to expect to love somebody else when you don't even love yourself?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? It's the age old saying.
And you know, it also has to do with how could you expect to walk away from something that you think is unhealthy if you did not love
And
yourself in the first place?
and you're
So it's
absolutely
like
right about
walking
that.
in or out.
You are 200% right about
Yeah.
that, because when I look back in my relationship, it is a ton of sacrificing
Yeah.
for the other person. It is a ton of stomping on my own happiness to make something work for somebody else, because I had blinded myself to knowing that, oh, you know what, maybe this is the girl that I'm going to marry, so I'm just going to have to get used to
Yeah.
living life the way I was at that time. But then, life had its way of closing that door on me and saying, dude, this is not the way to live life.
Yeah. Yeah. You
Right.
think you're being objective and you think you're being
Yeah.
balanced, but ultimately you're
And I
constantly chipping
wasn't
away
balanced.
at yourself.
Oh, I was not balanced at all.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to put this on her. And I mean, whatever has happened in my life after we broke up, my life just 90-degree perpendicular angle just
Yeah.
shot up.
Yeah.
Okay. Not to say anything towards her, because I wish her the exact same, if not more, level of positivity, success, everything in her life. You know
But
what I
some
mean?
things need to burn in order to
Some things
get
need to
something
burn,
out.
yeah, and
Yeah.
and that did. And until I got out and had my own hindsight is 2020 moment,
Mm-hmm.
now I'm looking back and I'm like, wow, like, not only me. By the way, I don't want to take anything away from her. There were things that I was at fault for as well.
Yeah.
There were things that I apologized for. There were things that that were totally I was responsible for
Yeah.
doing that caused maybe her harm or her, like, sadness or
But
whatever
honestly,
misery,
if
right?
you were self-aware of how much hurt you were causing yourself, that would have.
But I had to
still
separate
met-
myself. Yeah,
Exactly.
right. And then until that happened, I wasn't able to really. I didn't understand when I was in there, because I
Yeah.
had just accepted that way of life. I knew I had to. There was a bit of an imbalance between my parents and hers in the sense that accepting this, that, blah,
Gotcha.
blah, blah. So I was just ready to fight these struggles for the rest of my life and everything. You know what I mean? Like, it's just when you're just there. But because I'm is that being a hopeless romantic? Just kind of.
It's a good question. I don't know if it's being a hopeless romantic. I just think that
You know, when people say that, they're just like, "Oh, I'm such a hopeless romantic. I fall head over heels."
I'm a hopeless
for
romantic.
Yeah.
I
So
agree.
what do you mean by that when you say that?
But I think that has more to do with like you'll fall for you love the idea of love,
I do.
right? And you do. And I think at that point, I don't know if I would call it you being a hopeless romantic so much as just you thought that this was, like you said, you thought this was going to be the rest of your life. You had closed yourself up into whatever mold that she wanted you to be, or whatever mold you thought you need to be in
Yep.
order to be quote unquote happy.
Yep.
And man, the rose-colored glasses, like you can put many of them on before realizing, right?
Yeah. Until reality hits you. Right?
Until you just trip and that's it. So I don't know if it would be being a hopeless romantic, but just, you just didn't see, like you were hopeless for sure.
Yeah. That's hilarious. But no, that's true. That is true. So I think we were talking about
Yeah. So the
you.
moment,
So the seeking help
the kill
and
switch.
your best friend. No, kill switch happened. You have started seeking help from your best friend. She gave you great advice
Yeah.
at that time, which turned out to be true. Any other people that you were seeking help with? And
I got therapy.
can you talk about that? Because I'm going to ask you this from a personal standpoint, where sometimes I feel like I need it or I don't need it or something like that. I've always, ever since that breakup happened,
Yeah.
I actually became the opposite of myself in the sense that I used to be a very vocal, outgoing, expressive being the most important word here, expressive human being, just a way in living life. So after the breakup happened and after certain things with, certain friends, shit went south, I became very reserved,
Yeah.
very bottled up, just into myself in the sense that at the end of the day, the man in the mirror that I see every morning is the person that's only going to have your back. Right?
So it's lack of trust.
And lack of trust, plus just in a way, before being so expressive and being like, hey, this was happening in my life, not help me out, but I used to talk to everyone around me,
Yeah.
stuff like that, right? Now I'm internalizing.
You were just all embracing.
Yeah, all embracing. Now I'm
Yeah.
internalizing into me, into myself, in the sense that, you know what, if I got me, and no matter how dark it gets, no matter how crazy it gets, at the end of the day, I find my answers from within and I
Yeah.
keep life pushing,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So if I'm sad, I personally get to the bottom of it first before I'd be like, man, like I'm just feeling down. Why? Facing this, that. Now I live life with a sense of gratitude. I live life with a whole new sense of purpose.
Yeah.
Right? Especially separating myself from my job, doing this. And just
Commendable things.
thinking on a different wavelength now, right?
Yeah.
Because when you don't have a leash around your neck, you think differently.
Yeah.
And I mean that in a very nice way.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the whole like 9 to 5, all that.
Yeah.
I mean that in a very
It's
nice
got
way.
its own merits and its
And
huge flaws.
more power to those people that do find happiness
Yeah.
from that.
Yeah.
Right? At the end of the day, we all define happiness differently. But my point is I've become very internalized,
Yeah.
right?
Now, are you happy with who you are?
Honestly, no, because it comes out in my relationships sometimes, such as whether my parents, whatever, where I'm really trying to be happy and supportive and a cheerful dude when they come home from work, or I'm really trying to be my old self where I used to be that guy, right? And it doesn't come out, and that frustrates me even more. Because my parents deserve a cheerful son. They deserve a cheerful.
Ooh, that's a loaded statement.
You know what I mean? They do because I can tell you firsthand, they put in a lot of effort to be cheerful and just happy-go-lucky themselves, just being happy people, right? So
Why not you?
Why not me? And why do they always catch me kind of just always thinking about things, always pondering, always living in another moment?
So
Does that make
two
sense?
things about that, actually.
Please.
I see where you're coming from, and I see what, like, you're like, oh, is this just the new me? Or is this something that I can work on because I'm trying to go back to my old self?
Right.
You use the word happiness, and that is what got me into therapy, by the way. I said the same words, I just want to be happy. And my therapist looked at me as probably one of my first few sessions the second time around.
Okay.
Said, I don't understand this illusion of happiness. He said, you've got a lot of other emotions, right? Anger, sadness. These are things. And I hope you give them as much validity as you give happiness. And somehow that just kind of put the weight off my shoulders.
That's very powerful. I'll be
Right?
right off the bat. That's very powerful because what you just said, putting validity on the other human emotions, which should be given equal attention,
Attention.
right?
Maybe not importance, but
Yeah,
attention.
there we go. Thank you for saying that because I guess our importance would be given to happiness, right? That ever
Yeah.
elusive state of mind.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
always just kind of fluttering away,
Yeah.
right? And we're running towards it, whether we find happiness from our significant others, parents, friends, wherever the happiness is,
Yeah.
right? We are always chasing this elusive, eternal state of happiness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
And it doesn't exist. It's a lie.
Does not
And
exist.
having a
I
mental health
think
professional tell me that somehow was like, yeah, you sound right. So you kind of just offload the internalizing to somebody else, and then they go,
Interesting.
by the way, you're internalizing, and you're like, oh, that's true.
Yeah.
And then every time you'll catch yourself doing that, you'll start changing your behavior, or you'll start.
I think that's my problem because by the way, I've said more than I have in this specific episode out loud than I have. Like, these are thoughts that I have in my head, right? And this therapist point that you brought up, like, I just kind of became my own therapist and I just kind of give myself my own pep talk and I just keep it moving, right?
Which works sometimes, which works for most people, I find.
But
temporarily.
at least for me, I think it works temporarily because in that frame of mind, at that specific moment when I needed myself and I picked myself up, sure.
Yeah.
But there's no permanence of at least I don't think, because again, I'm back chasing that elusive state of happiness,
Yeah.
right? And I'm back taking my mind off to that just temporary sadness that I felt in that moment or whatever it may be, right?
You know what a good measure of thinking, okay, I need therapy now? If you've noticed the same problem come up like 3 or 4 times in a lot of explosive ways.
I'm probably a 30 or 40 at this point. I'll be honest. Yeah.
So
yeah.
And here's the thing. Just go talk to someone who is just objective about the human brain. You might not get anything out of it, but you might pick up like one thing. Like the only thing, to be honest with you, that I got from therapy was the happiness is not a thing and be okay with being sad. And now it's fulfillment that I'm looking for. And fulfillment entails to me sadness. It entails to me like just being genuinely tired.
Okay.
It entails anger. It entails all of that. And yeah.
No, go ahead. I'm glad you said that because
Yeah.
just like happiness, people have different definitions of these words.
Yeah.
Fulfillment, especially. I think we differ on that because I tie fulfillment with that elusive happiness, with that elusive state of state of that happiness's nature,
Yeah.
right? That's always just running away. And so if I end up grabbing that, fulfillment comes with it for me, because you synonymized fulfillment with
Yeah.
feeling whatever way,
Yeah.
tired or whatever it is, right?
It's
Which is
whatever you
great,
are in the
and I'm
state of mind
glad
that
we
you're
can
at.
differentiate
Yeah.
that, and that's okay. But now, to
So you
your
kind of
point,
link the two,
I
and you're
linked it
like,
too
I don't know
because
if I like
because I will be
that. Yeah.
fulfilled. Like when
Yeah.
you're really hungry and you eat a big meal, you're
Yeah.
more fulfilled
Yeah.
than you eat at a caloric deficit and you just eat a little bit. That you're
Yeah.
not hungry anymore, but like 3 hours, 4 hours later, you
Yeah,
want
yeah,
another
yeah.
meal, right? But
Yeah.
if I ate like something crazy, like a high calorie
Yeah.
meal, then it's like, you know what? I'm good for 6, 7 hours.
Yeah. So to you, fulfillment is actually like the act of doing something and then achieving something else, or something like some sort of action.
Feeling
or-
fulfilled for
yeah.
me is achieving that
Achieving.
elusive state of achieving that elusive state of happiness, whatever that is.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Because so far my professional job, which by the way is good in certain people's eyes,
Yeah.
in society's eyes, I'm doing well for myself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That wasn't happy for me.
Yeah.
That didn't bring that about. What else can I say? I went to a good university as well, degree
So you didn't
and all that
actually
stuff.
feel fulfilled in those things.
At all, not even close. Not even close, because my heart was not in it. My heart seems to be in this right now, this podcast, this way of living, particularly.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
However, why do I now still catch myself still being sad?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's happiness is supposed to be where you are, not where you think it should be.
No. Yeah. I agree.
Right.
Yeah.
And my problem is that my thought of where it should be is like always never where I am. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
And that's a
It's-
problem. And I should be able to control it, but I find myself and I cannot.
But I
Right?
don't think you should be able to control it. Like, sorry, but feeling like you need to be happy. You know, like people who get sad because they're not happy because they're sad about not being happy?
Yes. Yeah.
Fuck it. Just be sad.
So you just want them to be sad, but that's what's the resolution to that?
I challenge that because guess what? Then you figure out what the sadness is about, and every time you feel sad, you go, "Oh,
okay, but
that's
what if they did that?
insecurity."
What if
or-
they did that?
What if you did
Then
that?
what?
You know what happens?
Sadness does pass, just like night passes into day and day passes into night.
Then what happens is your problems begin to evolve, and that's what you want. You want to have bigger and better problems. You leveled up.
No, but I don't want bigger problems.
Why not? It's the meat of life. Okay, let me put it this way. You went to university, one checkbox, one hurdle, right? One problem. You got your designation, huge hurdle.
I guess what you mean
you
is
leveled up, and now you're here.
Which I'm down for. That I'm down for. I just mean, but you're right. I mean, life does bring about so many greater problems,
Right?
right? And I truly
But why
think,
doesn't that translate to mental life? It's the same thing. You just continue to work through the problems that you've
Yeah.
had. And
Okay.
once you've addressed an issue, dude, you just, like you said, you changed after that relationship, you change. It just,
yeah, you come to peace with that particular
that particular
situation.
thing. And then
Yeah.
you just get into a whole new level of depth. Then you start pondering things like, I don't know, consciousness. It's just random. I haven't gotten to that stage.
Okay.
But then you literally your universe expands and you start empathizing more with other people.
I think I'm there though.
I think
With
so.
that.
I think you are.
empathizing with people and being able to relate to them,
Yeah.
and being able to make them feel comfortable and whatever. Like when we talk about whatever, yeah.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that comes with the growth, right? So
Right.
that my point here is like embrace the fact that you think you might need help. Embrace
Hmm.
the sadness. Talk about it more. And if you don't want to talk about it, think about it more.
Which I do though. I spend honestly, I feel like I spend an unhealthy amount of time with in my
in your own
head.
head.
Yeah, in my own head.
Yeah.
And like I said, because I've become more reserved and stuff like that. That being said, though, I have found a certain level of happiness in this new way of living life,
There you go.
where
You change something
I don't
about
feel
yourself.
like I don't feel like always going. I mean, I never really always went out or whatever, but you know what I mean. Like just I'm very aloof now.
You're not trying to escape from yourself.
I'm not escaping anything
Yeah.
because like there's nothing to escape from, and if I have to run, I'm going to run into myself
Excellent.
to
Yeah.
face whatever I need to face and stuff like that. But my point is that I mean, it's still elusive.
Yeah. And guess what? Therapy's not going to make you happy. Like, nothing's going to make you happy. And therapy is a
But
good
how does
way.
anybody change that though, right?
I
Yeah.
don't know.
See,
I don't.
That stumped me.
Yeah.
Those are conversations. Eventually, I can't have them myself anymore because I'm stumped. And if I'm the only person that I go to for answers for certain
Yeah.
things, and I don't have an answer,
But you're not supposed to have an answer.
hmm.
Like, there's the fun is in not knowing and in exploring. I'm not saying there isn't an answer. I'm saying, like, why are you worried about
No,
not
you're
having
right
an
about that
answer?
last statement. Yeah, I do find joy in some level of unknown and uncertainty. But that's life, right?
In seeking it.
Yeah, in
Like,
seeking it. But yeah.
And then
That's
like
life, yeah.
but that, like you said, oh, that's life, but that's literally all of life. Why are
Yeah.
you not embracing all of life?
Hey. Looks like our guest over here has all the answers.
No, and this is the thing, and I didn't go to therapy for that, but I actually I did to quite a certain extent. I went to therapy just to honestly normalize myself, to be okay
Sweet.
with being sad, to be okay with myself, and like from infidelity to honestly sometimes stupidity, to moments of pure genius, to knowing that I didn't have that much capacity to love someone, to like everything, just to embrace the fact that, oh, like if given the right nurture environment, I can really be the better version of myself. However, I need to choose to place myself in those environments. That's important.
Okay.
So that's what the therapy taught me. And that's what I continue to still struggle with. Like, how do I put myself in this environment? And you made a change, such a huge one in yours, where you knew something wasn't right? In the work that you were doing, you did not feel like this is what you wanted to do with the rest of your life. I don't want to use the word happy.
And I didn't want to sit there complaining about it and not doing anything about
There you
it.
go.
Right? So eventually my frustration reached a certain height where it's like, okay, dude, we're at the edge of the cliff. If you don't change anything about your life, we're just going to fall off.
Yeah.
Do you want to fall off? The answer is no. So what are you going to do to change the way you're feeling at this being on the edge of the cliff?
Yeah.
Okay, I got to quit my job. I do have to listen to my heart. I want to do this podcast thing. I want to do, you know what I mean? Just kind of just distance myself. I want to travel. I want to do other things in my life. And guess what? That's all of those things I'm doing, right?
That's amazing.
And
do you see how, like, it's so cool because having that designation, somebody else probably sat opposite you and said, that's amazing. But even this is, do you see how every part of your journey is so cool to somebody else?
I mean, yeah, but it's, I do that humbly though, right?
But you're living it day to day, so you're like,
Yeah, I
doing
live
it
it day to
humbly,
day.
right?
Yeah, I do it humbly, right? Like in the sense that, like, I always want to ground myself. That
Yeah,
I don't want to
yeah.
I don't ever want to have a balloon head where it expands and your
Yeah,
ego. You know what I mean? I never
yeah.
want to do that
Yeah.
for myself. But thank you. Like, if it's intriguing, I just want it to be relatable, and I want people to be able to say that, you know what, I can make this change in life, and as scary as it is, as crazy as it is, because we're so used to living life, paying bills, and having this structure around us, it's okay to let it go.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I never want either my future kids to feel like, to say that I was never there for them, or my parents to say I was never there for them, or my friends to say that I was never there for them, in the sense that all these things, when life events happen, you're not going to think about how crazy your boss is, or
Yeah.
how, your problems at work, or certain files that you don't want to work on
Yeah.
when your mom's in the hospital,
Yeah.
or your buddy needs you, or whatever. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because that life event is a lot more, there's a lot more at stake with that
There's a
than
lot
just
more
your
at stake with
job.
that.
And your job constricts your thinking, right?
Yeah.
Because it creates these
Or
false,
expands it.
or expect, no,
Yeah.
yeah, no. I mean, just in terms of life events.
Oh,
In
yeah,
terms of knowledge,
absolutely.
hell yes.
Yeah.
Expands it. Where it creates these constricting and almost false pressures of
I like that.
importance,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Of importance,
Yeah.
where we might have valued something else, but we crushed it for this job, and now we are finding a renewed sense of purpose and importance in this job, which you, at your heart of hearts, weren't really happy with in the first place.
Yeah. I'm thinking of the word recalibrate. You
Yeah.
somehow like you just force yourself to recalibrate.
Yeah, because that's the life I'm living. I got to be okay with it. This is the way it is.
Yeah.
And granted, I'm able to do these things. I'm able to quit my job because there's certain factors in my life that allow it to be so.
Yeah.
Right? If I had a kid, if I had a wife, if I had a mortgage, of course, I can't just say
Who knows?
la-di-da. But no, that's the thing. Then I need a lot of money in my bank account to be able to support literally everything, right?
Yeah.
But right now, it supports me and my bills.
Yeah.
But I do want to obviously, as grateful as I am for all that my parents have given me, I want to give 20 million times back to them because they deserve it in my eyes,
Yeah.
right? So right now I'm serving myself, but I want to serve them too, right?
And by the way, South Asian culture right here, folks.
Yeah.
It's and this is the beautiful part of it. I don't think that the connection that you feel with your parents can compare to anything in the world,
Right.
right?
Right.
And this is the beautiful part of it. This is the beautiful part of our upbringing, that we feel that that nothing can compare.
And this was instilled from back home, by the way,
Yes.
right?
This
It
goes back
was,
to the
because
roots.
this is
Yeah.
just the norm and the culture back home.
Yeah.
Where
Like, how dare you not be respectful to your parents? Like, how dare you not love your parents? Maybe not respect. How dare you not love your parents?
yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Yeah. But now it's like that's the only thing that we see, right? But I just a cautionary tale of mine. Don't let the love run away and have you honestly die with it. Don't be a masochist. And I think you've done a good job at recalibrating, but also understanding that, you will get the support where you need it for the time being, and you know when to give help
Right.
and
Right.
to give the support.
Have you found that love with your parents?
Oh, absolutely.
Great.
Years of fighting later, and that fighting needs to happen. And that's what I'm saying, that turmoil needs to happen in order for
Yep.
something good to come out of
Yep.
it. Yeah, years of fighting later, years of not being timid
For
later.
them to understand you and you to understand them, and
understand
that bridge to be built, right?
Yeah.
Where you can meet in the middle.
Yeah. And that's what therapy helped with as well. Speaking of kill switch, therapy helped with interacting with my parents and taught me, oh, you know what? That's probably why I wanted to be timid around him, because that's what I was taught to be.
Right.
And then thereafter, forgiving my parents.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then
Awesome.
having them forgive me.
Right.
And
And then
that-
now, how's the situation now?
my parents now are great. I still live at home. I am doing really well at work.
Sweet.
Yeah. And I'm learning so much. And to me, that's the purpose of my living. Like that, if I don't learn something in a day, or if I don't better myself, that's it. There's no point.
That's very amazing that you said that.
Yeah.
Because that's important.
Oh God.
That's important.
only
We're
thing.
always evolving. Yeah. We're always evolving, right?
Yeah,
And we
yeah.
always want to better ourselves in any way.
Yeah.
Whether it's knowledge or as a person. It's important to always be growing and always be learning.
Yeah. And if a day doesn't go
And being
by,
open to it. Yeah.
if
being
a
open
day
to
doesn't
it.
go by where I'm not open to that learning, and I'm not open to the fact that I think back and I go, I could have done that better, and I think I just killed the day, like I was amazing, that's a boring day to me.
Yeah, you don't feel
A good
fulfilled.
day
You
is-
don't feel,
Yeah.
accomplished. And that's amazing that you said that, because that's a beautiful way of living life.
Yeah.
That
And that's
is.
what therapy taught me. Therapy taught me to be more holistic, to be more nuanced, and to say, that relationship, probably not the most holistic thing. That was part of your story. That's not the whole of you.
Right.
And by the way, just off of a tangent, we actually broke up in a hotel. Speaking of Heartbreak Hotel,
Interesting. That's very interesting. Wow.
but just the journey back from that, and I'm in an amazing relationship right now.
Sweet.
Yeah,
I'm happy that's great.
yeah, and not stars in the sky kind of relationship. I mean, I'm in a relationship where my partner stands up for himself and I stand up for myself when we need to. We allow ourselves personal space. We are uncomfortably honest with each other.
Nice.
Yeah.
Full disclosure.
Full disclosure.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's how it should be. And yeah, so and you've now, from the lessons that you've learned in your past relationship, you've learned to find that new balance, right?
Yes.
You've learned to be okay with yourself. You've learned to express yourself. And do you feel that you are now yourself truly with your partner?
Oh, yeah.
That's important.
Absolutely.
That's important.
I mean,
And he allows you to be that as well. He allows you to blossom as whatever flower that you want to. as opposed to and love you for your flaws and
Yeah.
whatever you have to bring to
Yeah.
the table. But because that's the point of love, right?
And it's reciprocated. I mean, I think it would, like I said, it would be boring if you were perfect.
You're right. No, you're right about that. So, do you have a parting gift to whoever's listening, in the sense that at the end of the day, from your lessons, from whatever you've learned in your life, what is the key takeaway for them for your specific episode?
When in doubt, go talk to a professional if you have the means to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And and that's one thing I'm very happy and very grateful for you to be so open about talking about therapy. Coming from a South Asian background, I'm sure there's parents out there that's like, "Oh my God, my daughter or son is seeking therapy."
I
Oh
didn't
my
tell my
God.
parents for a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of that fear.
Yeah.
But once they knew, how did they react?
This is a great question. So once they knew, they said, "Are you sure you need it?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm a mess." and,
Glad your honesty is great. Yeah.
and they said, "Why?" I said, "That's why I go to therapy, to talk to them about it, not you."
Do they ever feel that, like, oh man, like, why can't she just come to us?
Yes, they felt a lot of guilt. They felt a lot of guilt because they said that sometimes I would come home and fight with them about things, and they knew that it was because of therapy, because I'd gone, eventually when I did end up telling them, they knew at that point that it was because that I'd spoken to my therapist. And honestly, what human being wants you to go, in their minds, tattle to somebody else
Right.
who, is a professional, and then come back and fight with you about it, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, they felt guilty, and again, it kind of went full circle with they felt guilty, and I sat there and said, "It's okay. I'm here to support you. I understand that must have been a challenging decision for you to maybe force me to do something. I'm sure that must have been hard on you too." And I remember one time I walked into my parents' bedroom at 4 a.m. We'd had a fight,
No
and
way.
I walked in at 4 a.m. I woke my mom up, and I said, "I just realized you're only human."
Holy crap. At 4 a.m, you just wanted to say that to her. You woke her up out of sleep.
She went to bed angry, and just both of us were crying. So like I just went in, woke her up, and said, it just clicked. You're just human.
Yeah. And they are. It's true.
And that from that day on, like she's my best friend because
That's
she knew
amazing.
that she could be herself
Yeah.
and that she could share. Hey, by the way, you remember that one time that I told you not to do this thing? It's because I was worried about this.
Right.
That's it.
I mean, as human beings, no matter at what age we grow up, we can learn a lot of things, but we don't always have it figured out,
Yeah,
right? And even our parents, they don't always have it figured out.
they don't.
And just like you said, they are human, so they may react, they may also battle it out the same human way that you are,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And yeah, but that makes for the bridge to actually be built,
yeah,
for you guys to be able to meet in the middle and understand each other's perspective, and most importantly, recognize that, you know what, my parents, I love you for who you are. My daughter, I love you for who you are. And at the end of the day, both of us just want to coexist in happiness.
yeah, yeah.
Right. So I'm trying to meet that. Like, I mean, if you hated them and they hated you, it would show. You would just not be
Yeah.
in their lives. They would not be in their lives. Just the way it is.
Yeah.
But there's a mutual understanding where, hey, we both want to be happy. So what
Yeah.
does that take for you? And this is what it takes for
Yeah.
us. And
I'm gonna put my word fulfillment in there, but we both want to be like I think I don't think it's ever gonna be like I honestly I would love to go back to this. I don't think that I am always 100% happy, but I'm so pleased at admitting that I'm okay with that. I'm happy
Fair.
saying that I'm 98% like at a good state with my parents. I'm 98% at a good state with myself, but there's always that 2% room to grow, and that's what drives me. That 2% is what drives me.
And see, for you, that's what drives you. That's what
Yeah.
makes you get up in the
Yeah.
morning, right? And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing, right? But yeah, so again, can't thank you enough to come
Thank you for
share your
having me.
story, a wonderful story with us.
Thanks.
I'm sure I personally have learned a lot
Oh,
from
excellent. Me
your
too.
relationship, from your relationship struggles to your relationship with your parents. And yeah, any last words for, by the way, that sounds very morbid. I mean, any extra parting gifts for anybody listening?
Just don't stop finding that meaning and like continuing to go back to and if you don't know that meaning, get help.
Get help.
Honestly, just please go get help. Go find something or someone, find a podcast. I have a podcast for you. Find a friend, find somebody that you think you can connect with. And you know what? Keep trying. Your first therapist will not work. My first therapist did not work.
Wow.
Yeah. So if that first one doesn't work, go to the second one. There is light at the end of the tunnel.
That clicks for you.
There is something that clicks for you. That doesn't mean that therapy is bad or friendship is bad or
Fair.
parents are bad, right?
Right.
So just as cliche as it sounds, like honestly, you deserve so much and you should push yourself to find that so much, whatever that means for you.
Beauty. I couldn't have said it better myself. Again, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This is the speech therapy. This is not the speech therapy podcast. This is the Heartbreak Hotel podcast. Thank you for listening.
Feels like the speech therapy podcast.
It's hilarious.